Okay, good morning everyone. So, welcome to our third week of our discussion for our non-dangerous goods for the seamanship tree. So first, our lesson for today is about the container cargo. So we have different kinds of merchant ships, and this one is container cargo. It is the fully first containerized. It was the Matson line. No, it is the fully first containerized into service in 1960, the international standards of the organization, and it is first established containers in 1961. So it is the first container cargo that's being built, and it is the very first the fully containerized ship into service. So under the ISO, it is not prescriptive and instead simplify and stipulate the test of the containers must pass. So in modern container ships, we have only one problem. When the ship arrives in port, the object is to unload the container quickly to get them on their final destination, and to the container ships back out to the fully loaded heading on the next port. So in order to accomplish this, container ships are equipped with the steel skeletons called the cell guide. So mamaya papakita ko sa inyo kung ano yung tinatawag na skeletons, cell guides, and also we have the special lifting fixture. Is this used to remote actuators in which you can engage the corner blocks of the top of the container on how to secure the container cargo in a container vessel. So first, may papanood ako sa inyong video, no? It is with regards sa our container vessel.
You must have seen this kind of steel box at some point of time in your life, probably on rail, road, or on a ship. This is a typical shipping container. Shipping containers are standardized steel boxes we use to ship all kinds of things, from fruits to shoes, from computers to inflammable and hazardous material for industrial purposes. With container shipping, anyone can transport their cargo from point A to point B. Now, it may seem that transporting a container is a simple process, but in fact, it is a complex system full of checks and procedures. Let's see the journey of a container from its point of origin to its destination. But before beginning, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get connected. In the container shipping industry, there are three main stakeholders involved: importer, who wants to receive cargo from another country; exporter, who wants to sell and send the cargo to the importer; shipping company, who delivers the cargo by receiving it from the exporter and sending it to the importer. Apart from them, there are other services involved which helps to streamline the process: port, trucking company, shipping agent, freight forwarder, etc. Let's assume a renowned denim brand from the US wants to outsource its denim bottoms consignment from China. Once the consignment is ready, the exporter will first select a particular shipping company whose container will come to its factory for cargo loading. If the cargo is large enough to accommodate in multiple containers, the exporter will use full container load, that is, full 20 feet or 40 feet containers are booked. When the cargo to be shipped is less in quantity, then less than container load or LCL is used. With LCL, you pay per cubic meter or per metric ton for space inside a consolidator's container. Now, a freight forwarder will assist both the importer and exporter for the transportation of cargo and will get the containers from the shipping company and bring it to the exporter for filling, stuffing, and sealing of cargo. After loading the containers are sealed and an identical number or a particular ID is given to the exporter so that they can track their goods. If the goods to be transported are dangerous in nature, such as gas or a toxic chemical, INDG containers are used. Similarly, if the cargo is perishable or temperature sensitive, refrigerated containers are used to preserve the items for a long journey. Now, the freight forwarder will arrange for the intermodal transport, that is, transporting the container from the exporter warehouse or factory to the designated shipping port for loading into the ships. Then, the representative of the exporter, a shipping agent, performs all port paperwork, customs check, and does the final inspection of the container and pays the port dues to ship the containers inside the port warehouse or storage facility. Shipping agent will also collect the bill of lading from the shipping line after handing over the documents and makes receipt to the shipping line. Now the Chamber of Commerce will issue the certificate of origin to the exporter. In the port, the container weights are measured and the entries are made according to that. The container is stacked in the port in such a manner that they can be taken out easily as per the schedule of their assigned vessel. Now the container is ready to be loaded on the ship. The shipmaster is informed in advance about the cargo containers to be loaded on board in a particular port. The cargo loading plan is prepared by shipping companies' cargo planners who will take the data from the chief officer regarding the current load condition of the ship, including the cargo stowage, fuel, and water quantities on the ship. Once the ship arrives, the container is brought from the port storage facility near the ship by container port trucks, which can carry a single 40 feet container or two 20 feet containers. The container is loaded as per the cargo plan by the gigantic port cranes, which lifts it from the truck and transfers it to the ship. The container can be stored on the ship's cargo hold, where container guides are provided to draw and place the container inside the hold. If the container is due for unloading in the next port, it will usually be kept on the deck. All deck containers are provided with extra lashing so that they do not become loose and fall overboard when the ship is out in rough seas. The container lashing is done by shore workers known as stevedores. In case of container carrying dangerous cargo, additional precautions are taken to load and place the container at a safe area as per the IMDG code guidelines. The refrigerated containers are placed on deck as they need power plug points to run the incorporated refrigeration plant. Once the ship loading is finished, it will now proceed for the next assigned port. The loading plan is of extreme importance as the container will be loaded and secured on board ship as per the plan. If the loading plan is incorrect and the
So, yun yung
containers
tinatawag
whose
natin
destination is
na
the next port
prevent
are
stability,
stacked
no?
too
Para
deep or
mabalance
inside the
yung
cargo hold, the port crane
paglo-load and
operator
unloading
will
natin
take
ng
additional time to take the
cargo nito.
container out, which means the ship stays more on port and pays for the additional port stay. During the voyage, the ship officers are responsible to keep a check on the containers. Cargo lashing is checked from time to time to ensure all containers are secured properly. Cargo containers carrying dangerous goods are checked at regular intervals for leakages and damages while the ship is sailing. Once the ship reaches the destined port, the container will be unloaded by the port cranes and is transported to the port bay or warehouse using the port container trucks. Now the representative of the importer will present the bill of lading and other documents to the port and shipping line. If you remember, these are the same documents received in the port of origin by the exporter. All the documents are then couriered to the importer for receiving the shipment. Once the custody of shipment is acquired by the importer's representative or by the freight forwarder, the cargo will be transported using the intermodal transport to the importer's warehouse where the container is unloaded. The empty container is now returned to the shipping line's designated container yard where it will wait for the next booking and onward journey. The world is now connected by thousands of containers, making it feasible for businesses and people to do trade across the globe.
Okay, so that is the process of a container carrier, no, or container cargo. So in container cargo, it comes to two basic sizes. So we have the 20 footer and 40 footer. footer. So it is commonly known as the TEU. No, the TEU means the 20 equivalent units, and the FEU stands for Far Eastern University. No, joke lang. So it stands for the 40 equivalent units. So the external body of the container is made up of the corrugated sheet metal and is not capable of taking any load. So the four corners have a shoes and strengthen them to take the load. So kung mapapansin nyo, merong tough corners on each corner of the container cargo. It is used to strengthen the load. No, para kasi pinapatong-patong natin yung mga container natin, no? And in a container cargo, inside the bottom, there's a wooden ceiling. So there is a weather insulated vents to provide the facilitated form venting, and its weights marks on the containers are tare weighted and laden weight. So the tare weight is the weight of the empty container, which is usually 2,200 kilograms for the TEU. And while the laden weight may be containing from 20,000 kilograms to the 230,000 kilograms when it is strengthened steel construction. So that is the sizes and that is the weight of the each container cargo. So let's try to watch also another video with regards sa ating container cargo.
A container ship is a specific type of cargo ship designed for the efficient transportation of standardized cargo containers. We often see cargo containers on large trucks on the road. Let's take a look at the general design of a container ship. Today, we're using this 3D ship model based on the MSC Crystal. The sizes of container ships are usually determined by their capacity in TEU, 20-foot equivalent unit, and FEU, 40-foot equivalent unit. Container ships store their fuel in tanks that are usually located next to the engine room or in the double side or bottom tanks. Water ballast tanks, they keep the ship stabilized. Most ships are equipped with hatch covers. The ship stores containers inside the hull and on top of the deck. Inside the hull, there is cargo hold space. The cargo space is divided into holds by watertight bulkheads. One complete hold itself is divided into two parts by the use of so-called pillar bulkheads. In recent years, the cargo holds in most container ships are designed for the carriage of 40-feet containers. A small ship can carry fewer than 1,000 TEU, and the largest ships can carry more than 24,000 TEU. In a smaller ship, the superstructure and the engine room are located at the aft. In a larger ship, the structure is located toward the middle of the ship. In an ultra-large ship, the superstructure is separated from the chimney and the engine room, and is designed to be toward the front. The reason for this is to increase the visibility from the navigational bridge, and it could allow loading more containers on top. Containers are designed for stacking on top of each other. This is a corner casting. Containers are connected to each other using a device called a twist lock. This is a manual twist lock. It has a lever handle that can be moved in a sideway to tighten them in place. It locks the corner castings of two different containers together. This is a semi-auto twist lock. The cone on this lock is designed a little tilted on one side, so when the casting corner presses it down, the cone will turn automatically and then lock in place. To unlock it, the operating rod is used to pull this wire manually. Now you can see how containers are stacked vertically. The same twist lock mechanism is also used to secure a container on a truck. But sometimes, humans still choose to do this. How containers are stored. These are cell guides. Containers are stored along the cell guides. When stowing 20-foot containers, they could be at risk of sliding sideways. The container corners not supported by the cell guides need to be fixed to prevent slipping sideways. At least one or more tiers of 40-foot containers are generally stowed on top to prevent the deformation of 20-foot containers. Containers stowed inside the hull don't need to use twist locks. When the hull is fully loaded, hatch covers will be closed and more containers will be loaded on top of the deck. Since there are no cell guides here, the containers have to be secured using twist locks. However, twist locks alone are not enough. Lashing is required. This is a lashing bridge. The lower tiers of containers require lashing to prevent shifting and minimize structural stress. To maximize container stowage on deck, the outboard stacks of containers are often supported on pedestals. Container ships may transport large numbers of refrigerated boxes, commonly specified as reefer containers. Now, all containers on board are secured and ready for the voyage. Even with careful safety measurements, errors sometimes still happen and can lead to accidents like this. Loading containers on and off of a ship requires a gigantic crane on the port called a container gantry crane. The gantry crane lifts a container using a spreader. This device uses twist locks to secure into four corner castings of a container. When the lock is secured, it can lift the container and load it onto the ship. The spreader is equipped with image sensors to help accurately position a container. To unload and reload containers in and out of the ship, it usually takes 1 to 3 days, depending on the cargo volume. So how is a container is located in these massive stacks of containers? This is the bay numbering. Odd-numbered bays are for 20-foot containers, and even-numbered bays are for 40-foot containers. This is the row numbering. Starting from the center, odd numbers on the starboard side and even numbers on the port side. And this is the tier numbering. So when the location reads 300414, it is a 40-foot container stowed in bay 30, row 04, and tier 14. If there were a 20-foot container below it, it would be bay 31, row 04, and tier 12. Thank you for watching. My name is Lucius, and I will see you in the next video.
Okay, so the container was fitted at the corners in which hollow have a 5 oval slots in which being mentioned also in the video, as well as the lifting container which is the gantry. No, so it's a conventional wire slings or by the spreaders. So at this point, if we can see the lashing containers on the purpose which was supplied for the reputed lashing markers in order for us to test that the loads or where are they are being lashed. So fittings are used for this generally to carried on board. So such slashing and fittings, we have the base tracker, the twist lock, which is all of this is being mentioned earlier on the video. We have the double stacker, space stacker, the bridge, the twist lock, and the corner iPad fitting, and also the side track truss. So all of this being established and being mentioned on the video and its purpose. So for the container cargo, the space tracker is used where the difference between the adjacent containers as being loaded in heights for the 8 feet and 8.5 to 8.5 feet. So the normal ships where fittings may not be available on the wire ropes, or however, the number of ropes should be used decided based on the weight of the container, and also the geocentric uh, ships of no provision for built-in shoes or the single height loads of carried. So the lashings to be done are specified on the container lashing manual supplied to the ship and building in the shipyard. So it is not to be reduced since the stress have been calculated and the number of lashings incorporated with the stress of the container. So madali lang siyang i-load in a sense na wala masyadong trabaho para sa mga deck crew kasi it is being lifted by the crane using the gantry. Yung, kung nakita niyo yung gantry, yung pang-lift ng ating container. So, much the less work. Ang work na lang dyan is kung mag-a-additional pa ng lashing para ma-secure talaga yung container. But from the loading and unloading operation, most likely ang trabaho dyan is sa CCR for the control cargo room para sa mga nagtitrim and stability. But for the deck crew, most likely ang ano lang dyan is yung mag-ooperate ng gantry, no? So for the base and rows looking for the slide of the mark forward to off, the container has stock tires in the generally called the stocks. No? Stocks kasi pinagpapatong-patong natin. Kung makita nyo sa video kanina, yung pag-stock natin ng mga container. And this way is to ensure the located very easily. And the bay number, syempre, kung uh, load tayo ng container or magdi-discharge tayo, hindi lang naman sa iisang port yun. Different ports yung pagta-transport natin ng container. So, tendency, if you're going to transport a container, kung ano yung pinaka-nearest na pagdi-discharge natin ng container, ayun dapat yung nasa taas. And the last one na nasa ilalim ng container, ayun yung panghuli na natin i-discharge para lessen the time para kuhanin pa dun sa pinakailalim. No? So, based on the video kanina, ayun yung sabi na huwag tayo mag-i-stack ng pinakailalim, lalong-lalo na if we're going to transport a goods which is the nearest one. So the cell guides, so don't worry for especially for the 40-foot container na it is being constructed for the 40-foot and 20-foot container. No, maglalagay lang tayo ng stock sa ilalim for the 20-foot kasi it is not fitted and pwede siya mag-shift into or pwede mag-slides. So some containers can carry refrigerated cargos. In this purpose, it is required to have a PowerPoint of the electricity and containers with their own recording device and card. So officer has to renew the card for the expiry of the same and also to cooling the plant for not to stop the functioning manuals are provided. Ship staffs can some minor repairs to the plant if there's a needed requirement. So today, in a variety of cargo which is previously was thought could be loaded into general cargo ship, it is transported. For example, yung tank natin, small parcel of liquid is carried on a container ship. So yung mga parcel natin sa isang loob ng container ship, iba-ibang klaseng parcel yung nasa loob niya. Pero it has a similar, for example, ang mga damit, magkakaibang parcel yan. Pero iisa lang silang, pare-pareho silang damit. Pero magkakaiba yan ng mga manufacturer. Pero iisa lang yung pagbabagsakan, no? Para ma-maximize yung paggamit ng isang container. So, in a container cargo, there's a lashing. It is very important. Siyempre, pwede siya mag-slip. And the typical container has a low GMF or GM, no? Consequently, the ship rolls, bit, and stresses develop the cargo from swaying, no, pwedeng mag-shift, or to break the lashings to put a containers into the sea. So, paano ba yung lashing niyan? So, the cell guides, no, it is one open hatch. All lashings to be done for the manual and in general, following the typical lashing system, it is also accepted. So, ayan, no, kung makikita nyo on the right and the left side, for the right side pwede mag ah, overboard yung ang pag-i-stock natin ng container. But if, with the proper stocking and all of the lashings na makita nyo sa four sides, dapat make sure natin na lahat yun naka-lock. And in this type, planning is very important, no? It is normally undertaken ashore, no? Syempre bago tayo mag proceed sa sea, it must be taken over the watch of, and also keep an eye if there's an errors in some stowage, or there's a particular dangerous goods that it is being placed to another goods, no, dapat aware tayo na lahat ng container na magkakasama is similar sila ng properties, and hindi pwede magkaroon ng pagkakahalo-halo, no? So it is serious since the container may be second port by rotation. Ayun nga yung pag-transport natin ng goods, that make sure natin na first goods is the one who is on the top of the stock. And also the GM, what is the meaning of the GM? GM stands for the metacentric height, hold also a mess on this port. So on these refrigerated containers naman, when they are being loaded containers to the ship's power supply, the duty officer, kung sino man yung matapat sa kanyang duty, while loading a slight slackening yung pagluwag ng ng lashing, no, pwede mangyari yon, and become liability since it is gantries load very fast, and to unload the ship expensive, consuming in fault. So sometimes may mga containers tayo na due to the nature of the contents, yung laman, may be overstowed, no? And in case some container on the may be blocked off and there's no chance of pilferage, such container may can carry currency, coins, or drugs, or even mail to a valued cargo. So meron tayong another video dito, no, to fully understand the cargo container.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fluctus channel. From the earliest days of commerce, companies and individuals alike needed a way to transport goods from one place to another. Ships were the best option back then, just as they are today. These large boats could carry thousands of pounds of products, move relatively swiftly, and travel to ports worldwide. Over time, these smaller vessels evolved into today's container ships, which can carry tens of thousands of containers and loads of advanced equipment. In the 1700s and 1800s, galleons and other wooden sailing ships were the primary methods of moving cargo from place to place. Unfortunately, the cargo was loaded and unloaded by hand, which was labor-intensive and time-consuming. Different ships were also designed to carry different cargo types, making loading and unloading inefficient. Also complicating matters were the poor conditions aboard these older ships. Rotted wood and bad storage practices could quickly spoil shipments of food and other organic materials before they get to their destination. Fortunately, in the 1950s, a trucking entrepreneur named Malcolm McLean devised an idea to standardize containers. These new self-contained steel boxes could be easily loaded onto a truck, train, or ship, while the ships could get the most out of each journey. McLean's company, Sealand Service, soon launched the first container ship, the SS Ideal X. The Ideal X was 524 feet long and could carry 58 33-foot containers at once. Containerization quickly gained popularity due to its efficiency and cost-effectiveness. By the 1970s, most of the cargo was being shipped in containers. Container ships became more extensive and specialized, and special container terminals and cranes were installed at ports to better accommodate them. Among the largest ever constructed is the OOCL Hong Kong, which is 1,311 feet long. And can carry 21,413 20-foot equivalent containers. And the evergreen Everalot, which is 1,312 feet long and has a TEU capacity of 24,004. The latter ship is owned by Evergreen Marine, a Taiwanese shipping giant with more than 150 cargo vessels in its fleet. Of these, 9 are in the same class as the Everalot, Class A. Despite their immense size, the Evergreen Class A vessels are typically crewed by just 20 to 25 people, consisting of a captain, officers, engineers, and other workers. Life on board an A container ship can be both challenging and rewarding. The crew works long hours, often spending several months at sea before returning home. To make them comfortable, the shipbuilders installed a variety of amenities. These include well-appointed lounge areas, lively crew quarters, as well as gyms and recreation rooms where the crew can relax and unwind during their off hours. Another well-known company in the global shipping industry is Maersk, based out of Denmark. Maersk's Triple-E class vessels have similar dimensions to the Evergreen Class A's, but have slightly less carrying capacity. The work schedule on these 1,300-foot ships typically follows a rotating shift pattern, where crew members work in shifts of 4 to 6 hours for a period of several months. Nearly all the onboard space is dedicated to the storage containers. So most of the crew is located in the tower, which stores the bridge and crew quarters. The engine room is located at the stern of the ship on the lower decks. Those working on the deck are typically charged with checking the lashings and inspecting the cargo containers regularly. There is also a mess and kitchen on board where crew members can enjoy their daily meals and facilities for properly disposing of food and other waste. Constructing a vessel of this size and weight is done in sections, each of which is fabricated indoors. The bulk of the assembly is accomplished inside a dry dock using specialized heavy lifting cranes. As each section is moved into place, they will be welded together to form a complete whole. Though the deck of a container ship may appear flat, it is actually made up of multiple cargo chambers hundreds of feet deep. These are where most of the cargo containers are stored during transport, though several thousand will also sit above the deck line. Once the whole of the ship is complete, the tower and crew quarters will be added. Next, the ship's equipment is installed. This includes the engines, propellers, rudder, steering gear, and other mechanical and electrical systems. The final stage is the installation of the crew quarters and other interior furnishings. From design to completion, the average large-scale container ship will cost tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. To ensure they operate as intended, companies like Maersk will put each new vessel through a battery of tests known as sea trials. During this process, the ship is put through a series of tests and drills to ensure it is seaworthy and ready for service. Over several weeks, the crew and engineers will examine the ship's propulsion systems, steering systems, navigation equipment, and safety features. The ship's engines will be tested at various speeds and under different loads to ensure they operate correctly. Meanwhile, the steering systems will be tested to ensure the ship can maneuver safely in all conditions. Once the sea trials are complete and necessary adjustments have been made, the ship will be officially delivered to the buyer and can begin its service. All around the world, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of port infrastructure have been installed to allow container ships to do their jobs. These include massive heavy-lifting cranes and acres of port facilities where the offloaded containers can be stored, cataloged, and taken to their final destination, usually by train or truck. One of the largest and deepest container terminals in the world is Minami Honmoku in Yokohama, Japan. The terminal is situated on a man-made island in Tokyo Bay and covers an area of approximately 127 hectares. It has a total quay length of 2,500 meters and is equipped with 12 berths, each of which can accommodate even the largest container ships. The terminal is exceptionally advanced and equipped with state-of-the-art container handling solutions. These include automated stacking cranes, automated guided vehicles, and a computerized management system. This allows for quick and efficient loading and unloading of containers, helping to minimize turnaround times for ships. Automated or not, the container loading process is crucial to the success of any shipment. This is accomplished using a variety of machinery, particularly cranes. These move the containers into place while workers on the ship lock them into place. All containers have locking mechanisms at the corners, so the first is attached to the hull, and each subsequent container in the stack is attached to the one underneath it. Once each stack is complete, It will be further secured with lashing equipment such as chains, cables, and turnbuckles. The crew also checks the weight and distribution of the containers throughout the process to ensure that the ship is properly balanced. Upon arrival at the destination port, the ship is positioned at the dock, and the cranes begin unloading the containers. The crane operator uses twist locks to release the container from the ship's deck individually. This requires a lot of care and organization not to damage the rest of the stack. Depending on the container's final destination, it may be put onto a truck for immediate storage or loaded into a freight semi for delivery. In many cases, ports like these will be constructed near railway stations, allowing the cranes to place the containers directly onto flatbed cars for immediate shipment. Given the fact that the largest ships can carry more than 20,000 containers, this process can take up to 3 days. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.
Okay, so that concludes our lesson for today. No? It's about the container cargo and how to secure, how to operate, and
Hello
also for
everyone,
the
and
loading
welcome
and
back to the
discharging
Fluctus
operation.
channel.
So I want you to enjoy the rest
From
of
the
the week.
earliest days of
So,
commerce, companies and
since
individuals
last
alike
week hindi
needed a
natapos
way
sa
to transport goods
araw
from one
natin yung
place to
holiday, but
another.
I want to enjoy the rest of the week. No? Hindi ko na kayo
Ships were the
bibigyang
best
exercises.
option back then,
watch
just as
the
they are
next
today.
videos for our MARE
These large boats could carry thousands of pounds of products, move relatively swiftly, and travel to ports worldwide.